Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to Upkick MMA, episode 174. I am Brendan. We're going to talk about Bellator 285, Benson Henderson versus Peter Queally, Melvin Manhoof versus Yoel Romero, Liam McCourt, Diana Silva. We're going to cover the main card here, the rest of the main card. If you're looking for the prelims, it's going to be in the next video. If you are new to the channel, if you've never been here before, you like MMA, subscribe to the channel so you know when my next video is coming out. I cover the UFC, Bellator, 1FC. I do 2 or 3 videos every single week, and I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe so you know when the next video is coming out. All right, let's get going. Also, for those the faithful here, I changed the name of the channel. Let me know what you guys think about the new logo. Let me know what you think about the new name. Upkick MMA through some toiling through an MMA glossary, as well as things that didn't sound stupid. I landed on that. Let me know what you guys think about it. If you have better suggestions and you want to do my logo for me, you are more than welcome. Please, send me what you want. Comment down below. Let me know. All right, Benson Henderson getting the win over Peter Queally in Ireland, in Dublin. Great win for him. Let's break it down round by round, but just overall, what a freaking performance, huh? Dude, what a performance. He's unbelievably good. Looking at some of the shots from here, this was the entire fight, right? You had Benson Henderson pressing forward. When they did exchange at distance, Henderson was able to land kicks when Peter wasn't. He would go for takedowns, and he was able to pretty much control the fight and do everything that he wanted. Initially, Peter Queally started walking him down and swinging like crazy, and Benson was using leg kicks to kind of slow him down. Now, Queally, it's not like his aggression waned. It's just he wasn't able to do anything because Henderson was just very good at controlling distance, controlling the fight, and putting it where he wanted it. Benson dove on a single. Queally recovered really well, getting back up after some grappling exchanges, and then Benson Henderson was digging hooks to the body. He kept continuing with his low kicks, got into the Dagestani position, the Khabib position, where Queally was on one knee against the fence, defending, and Henderson was, on his back at an angle, and he was landing knees to the leg, and he's just not untouchable, right? He's not a perfect fighter, but that's a perfect round. That first round was nearly perfect for him, took almost no damage, and, I gave it 10-9. Real quick here. It is not fair to talk about the redness on Peter Queally because he's so white. He's very white. I'm white. This dude is freaking clear. These guys with really, he's Irish. What are you going to do? But these guys with really white skin, you could see it in this fight. The instant they get touched, that area gets turned a different color, and you can see it. It's vivid, and it contrasts really harshly with their skin color. So normally when you see redness start to build up on anybody else, right, anybody with darker skin, I don't mean darker meaning like black skin or brown skin. I just mean darker than absolute highlighter white, right? Because of the tone of their skin and the amount of melanin, it hides the flushness of the blood going to that area. And the damage doesn't show immediately. It's not as evident. It takes more damage to show it in that area. But for example, if you watch this fight, it was a good performance by Henderson. It's not the most exciting fight. It was just a really good performance. Go look at Peter's back. Just from rubbing up against the fence and moving and getting blood flushed to the muscles, his whole body turned red. So saying that those leg kicks were, by the way, I'm not downplaying Henderson's leg kicks. They were phenomenal, and they do damage, and they did a lot of damage. It's just you can't judge the amount of damage based off the discoloration of the skin on Peter immediately, right? Because it's going to happen. He's, like I said, extremely white. Any fighter like that. Paul Felder in the UFC, super white. And that's exactly what happens. You get touched anywhere, blood flushes to that area, and then it makes it vividly red compared to, it contrasts highly with the color of your skin. So if you're judging damage, like the reason I'm spending a little bit of time on this, not because commentary makes a point to show it. That's, that's whatever. It doesn't affect the outcome of the fight. What it does affect, not them, but the appearance, is the judges. If they look at someone's really white skin and see that it's discolored, and they wrongly assume that it's purely from damage, now we're looking at a real problem because it's a subjective thing looking at damage based off of the discoloration of someone's skin. Okay, with that little side note out of the way, just defending the guy. Like he's Irish, man. He's very, very white. Like, that's not fair. In the second round, Benson landed a really hard kick to the nuts. Like, a really hard kick to the nuts. It was bad, guys. Real bad. Wasn't intentional. He was throwing low kicks the entire fight, like the entire first round. So it wasn't something out of the ordinary. He's not a dirty fighter. Nothing like that. But the reason, again, I'm bringing this up because a point was taken immediately. And it was because of how hard the kick was. And Queally was moving into it, stepped off to the left, and that exposed his cup. And the low blow landed very, very hard. Ugh. Dude, it was bad. Queally took like 3 minutes to recover, and the point was taken immediately. So how do I feel about that? If you know me, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I'm pretty harsh on the penalties because there's too much subjectivity. I said that word really weird. There's too much subjectivity in the doling out of punishments for rule infractions. Right? It's up to the referee's judgment and discernment to adjudicate punishment based off of how much that rule infraction affected the fight. This means if you go to take me down and I grab the fence to stop the takedown, that effectively stopped you from changing the position of the fight and putting me in a disadvantageous position. Whereas, if I was against the fence and you grabbed the top of the cage when we're clinching, you grab the top of the cage, just your arm happens to drape over. Let's say you're a taller guy. It happens a lot, heavyweight and light heavyweight. During the clinch, you grab over like that, and in the middle of exchanges, you reach over there. Did that affect it as much as grabbing the cage to stop a takedown? Absolutely not. So I understand why they want the final judgment to be up to the referee in order to take a point immediately based off of how it affected the fight. Now, I have a problem with this because each referee is different. So you don't know what you're getting into. Humans are flawed, so they can make a good decision, bad decision. They can make alternate decisions that might be just slightly different than the way another referee would. Like I said, people are different. They see things differently. What position he's in can affect how bad he thought that rule infraction was. For things like eye gouges, strikes to the back of the head, and low blows, I think we can get away. I think we can honestly do away with the warning. Like they say all the time, the first warning you get is in the ready room. You get your first warning before you step into the cage. You honestly, like I've also said this before, you get a free foul almost every time. You get one free nut kick, one free fence grab, one free eye poke. You can actually get 1,000 free hits to the back of the head. That rule is never enforced because there's always someone who sees it like, oh, well, it was during an exchange. He turned his head, this and that. It wasn't targeting the back of the head. Striking to the spine is also banned. Striking to the mohawk area of the top of the head is also banned. Okay, so any of these rules that are broken, there should be an immediate point deduction. There should be an immediate point deduction. and the person should be given, kneeing to the head of a grounded opponent. Immediate point deduction. Obviously, that one happens all the time as far as the point deduction goes. So what makes that different than an eye poke? What if the knee isn't very hard and you stick your finger into that guy's brain through his eye socket? Which one of those was worse? Okay, that's what I'm saying. So you want to talk about you want to talk about leaving it up to the decision of the judges or the referee. Which one of those is he more likely to take a point from? A bad eye poke or a kneeing to the head of a glancing knee to the head of a grounded opponent? Which one of those is he likely to take a point from more often? It's going to be the knee to the head on the grounded opponent, even though the eye poke might affect the fight greater, might have a greater effect on the outcome of the fight. So that's what I mean. So if you want to make the argument that we're going to leave it up to the subjective judgment of the referee in there at the time, you have to defend that against my argument saying, oh, no, I do believe that any knee to the head of a grounded opponent, regardless of how small or glancing it might be, is worse than the worst nut kick, the worst eye poke, and the worst hit to the back of the head possible. Because all of those are forgiven. Now, this doesn't even get into the fence grab or the fact that you can basically, you can grab the fence to avoid takedowns. You can grab the fence to keep them in the clinch. You can grab your opponent's gloves to stop positional changes. Yeah, I mean, Oliveira. Charles Oliveira did that to effectively stop. He grabbed the inside of the glove of, oh, God dang it, Dustin Poirier to stop him from exiting the guard. Held onto his hand and made him fall down and keep the fight on the ground, and he won the title. Does that mean that Charles Oliveira would not have beaten Dustin Poirier in that fight if he didn't do that? No, but he broke the fucking rules, and there wasn't even a pause in the action, not even a warning. Right? Grabbing the shorts of your opponent. All of these rules, okay, you have to defend to me that one of them that always gets punished, regardless of severity, is always worse than any of those other things. And I would love to hear an argument against my argument, saying that I think there should be a point deduction regardless, especially for those, like I said, eye poke, hits to the back of the head, hits the spine area and the mohawk, all of this, right? Nut shots and knees to the head of a grounded opponent or kicks to the head of a grounded opponent. All of those, immediate point deduction. Immediate. I think for the other things, for an eye poke, yeah, like I said, eye pokes, yeah, that's a point deduction. For grabbing gloves, for grabbing the fence, I think it's an immediate positional loss. I don't think there should be a warning at all. I think you put your fingers inside the fence and grab it, regardless of why you did it. Whatever you did, whatever the reason you're doing that, you lose the position that you're in. So if you're in a clinch and you're pushing the guy against the fence and you grab the fence, you lose that position. Bye-bye. Nope. Back to the center. You stop, you touch that to alter a takedown attempt. You're down on the ground now. You're on your back. So I think that's fair. I don't think there's any inherent subjectivity in that. I don't think there's any inherent, problems with that solution, especially for the fence grab stuff, the glove grab stuff. The same thing with glove grabs or short grabs. You lose position, dude. You lose position. You broke the rules, and now whatever advantage you had, you lose it. And if you're in a disadvantageous position, I mean, that's a good argument, and I haven't really thought that one through as far as how we punish that person now. But they need to be punished too. But there needs to be an immediate point deduction. With that aside, back to this fight. I like that they took a point away immediately, but you need to be uniform with that. It's always got to be a point deduction. I don't feel bad for Henderson. He did it, and it was an accident. I don't care. It affects the outcome of the fight. That being said, he dominated the rest of the round. He did a good job going for a takedown, pushing to the fence, landing well in the clinch, to the body, and up top while holding one. He was holding Peter's leg, so he couldn't get balance and couldn't change position. So he was able to dominate that clinch position. He won that round. So 19-18 because of the point deduction. Henderson was chewing away at the legs. He's really consistent with those. He's just constantly putting out damage, constantly, compromising his opponent whichever way he can. And he does a really good job of it, staying safe in the process without being an extremely boring fighter. He's never looking to rest, doesn't look to just get on top and lay and pray. The dude's constantly trying to advance position. He's constantly looking for finishes, strikes, something. He's always staying active. Got him in that Dagestani position again, landed a big elbow and stunned Queally. Laid out some more damage. This was the fourth round. I had him win in that third round as well. I had him win the fourth round. I had it 39-36 going into the fifth. And then Henderson honestly could have won this fight. I think he could have got a finish because Queally's leg was pretty compromised near the end there. I think he could have got a finish if he just started throwing leg kicks nonstop. But, he continued to do what he did the entire fight, which was leg kick, throw a couple jabs out, look for openings, go for a takedown, push him against the fence, and dominate him in the grappling. And that's what he did. 49-45, just a perfect shutout in my opinion. Benson Henderson, honestly, one of the greatest to ever do it at lightweight, guys. He just is one of the greatest ever. I know he doesn't get the due that a lot of other people did because he didn't have a long title reign, right? But look at the guys. Look at the guys that he's beaten. Islam Mamedov, who's very good. That's grappling. He lost to Brent Primus, lost to Jason Jackson. He did well against Michael Chandler, just not good enough, right? Those are both grappling things. Beat Miles Jury, Adam Piccolotti. These were all later in his career. But if we want to go back to the UFC... Oh, yeah, he's got a win over Jorge Masvidal, I think at 170. Yeah, I think that might have been at 170 because he fought Andrei Koreshkov at 170 as well. Beat Brandon Thatch at 170. Like, he went up in weight for that one against a giant guy. He lost a controversial decision to Donald Cerrone. He got beat by Rafael dos Anjos pretty bad. But yeah, look, this is the string that I'm talking about, though, right here. This is the one. Yeah, oh, man. Look at these wins. Donald Cerrone, Jamie Varner. Don't know why he doesn't have a face. That guy's crazy good. Anthony Ginquani. There's another Ginquani. He did lose to Anthony Pettis via decision, but, he came back from that Showtime kick. It was made famous. People think that, Anthony Pettis knocked him out. He didn't. It went to a decision, and he did lose it. Beat Jim Miller, Clay Guida, back in the day, too, right? We're talking back in 2012. These guys were still in, their prime. Beat Frankie Edgar twice. Controversially in the second one, more so, but still beat him. And this is when he was the champion. He beat him for the belt, held on to the belt, beats Nate Diaz and Gilbert Melendez, and then loses to Pettis and loses the belt. But then beats Josh Thompson and Rustam Habilov, controversial loss, and then wins Brandon Thatchen against Jorge Masvidal. This guy, I'm going over this stuff because he's reaching the tail end of his career, and we'll probably go over it more once he retires, but what a performance by him. He's just, he's been fighting forever, and he might not be as good as he was, but he doesn't look diminished at all. It doesn't look like he's taken a lot of damage. He's still able to hang in there with some of the best in the world, especially in Bellator. Maybe not be the champion again, but he's still fighting for it. The guy still wants to be champion. It's really fun to watch that stuff. I love seeing guys like this later in their career. It doesn't make me sad to watch them fight. He clearly has taken care of himself outside of the ring, and or outside the cage, and he's really able to continue fighting at a very high level. Awesome performance. Love the guy. Moving on. Melvin Manhoof versus Yoel Romero. So this fight sucked. I'm sorry, guys. If you know my if you know me, I'm not a fan of Yoel Romero for many reasons. I'm not going to go into that again. I've gone on too many rants about why I dislike him. If you go back and watch a majority of his fights, especially the later part of his career, they're stinkers, guys. They're stinkers for a majority of the fight. They're stinkers. And yeah, he'll get a finish. Like in this one, he ends up getting the takedown and finishing Manhoof with elbows and getting the KO finish on the ground, or TKO, whatever you want to call it. But that's what I'm saying is, up until that, this was a pity pat. Nobody was really landing anything, and then he would get a takedown and lay on him. And that was it. That's all he did. I don't know how he looked tired in the second round already when he looks tired when he goes in there. This whole thing like he's ageless because he's in such good shape. I'm not saying the guy has doesn't have impressive genetics. Obviously he does. He's extremely athletic, but age comes for everyone. And it has come for him, and it hasn't been in terms of his power. It hasn't been in terms of the end of his fights where they're exciting, right? It comes in his output and the total encompassing view of his fights. They've been stinkers. And he does get dominated by people. He can get dominated and beaten by people who just don't want to play that fucking game with him. Melvin Manhoof has no chin. And he's very old. Melvin Manhoof has taken real fucking damage in his career, man. The guy has been in there. He was a kickboxer forever. I don't know how many kickboxing fights a guy had. But it's not insignificant. Like it is. Oh, good grief. Let's look. Because I don't know. I didn't follow kickboxing back then. I don't really that much right now. I mean, he has in MMA alone, he's got what? 47, 50 fights? He's 46 years old, guys. He's got 50 fights in MMA, and in kickboxing, some ungodly amount. The guy's been in there with everybody. He's fought in a ton of organizations. The guy's been around forever. He's just taking way too much damage, and he can't hang in there anymore. And you put him in there with a guy like Yoel Romero, who can out-wrestle him and does hit hard and has a really good chin. What was the outcome that was expected? Anybody who looked at this fight and thought they were going to getting an exciting Paulo Costa versus Yoel Romero vibe from this, you're out of your fucking gourd. You're out of your mind. I knew exactly what this fight was going to be. I couldn't tell you the outcome 100%. No one can. But I was very confident going into this fight, knowing exactly how it was going to go. And I knew it was going to be mostly a stinker until Yoel Romero landed a big shot. Okay? He's extremely defensive, doesn't engage, and when he does, especially against someone like Manhoof, who he doesn't wrestle that much anymore because it tires him out, especially against guys who can defend it. Look at his fight versus Israel Adesanya, which is not the exception. That's the rule. The boringness of the fight, the lack of activity. That's the rule. You see him against guys who aren't at his level, aren't at the highest level, like that poor guy they put him in there with against a couple fights ago. And he's able to, really put on a performance by landing a couple. Alex Polizzi. You put him in there against someone like him who's not at his level, and you get a one-way beatdown. But it's not like Romero put some ungodly pace on him. It's not like he went out there and had a nothing but crazy output. He just kept landing big shots that did damage to Alex, and Alex wasn't able to defend against them. Phil Davis is a great example of who Yoel Romero is as a fighter. Phil Davis can go in there and dominate him, which is what he did. He dominated him for the entire fight, all 3 rounds. Israel Adesanya, that wasn't a very active fight, but he dominated him. Paulo Costa, exciting fight. I will give you that. That was more exciting because Costa pressed the action and just wanted to strike with him, and he was willing to play that game. Didn't go for a lot of takedowns there. But you look back at all of his fights, so many of them are just stinkers for most of the time until he lands a big shot. So I knew how this was going to go. I was not excited for this fight at all. Okie dokie. Leah McCourt taking on Diana Silva. The judges got this one fucking wrong. They did. Leah getting the win via unanimous decision here. A couple judges giving it 30-27. That's fucking wrong. It's wrong. I'll break it down round by round here for you, and I'll tell you why it's wrong. First round. Leah landed a slapping right head kick early in the fight. Decent damage, good for her. Leah was the aggressor for sure, trying to clinch and throw knees, but she was overextending on every one of her exchanges, and she was out of position because she gets in there and then her legs are further forward than her center of mass. Like her body is behind her legs, her torso is behind her legs, meaning she's way off balance, and you could just shove her back, put your foot behind her, and do like a simple trip just by pushing her. Silva didn't do that in the first round, didn't get into takedowns or anything. Leah did more damage in that first round, landed the better positions landed the better shots in every position, definitely winning that first round 10-9. No arguments from me there. Second round, Silva landed the better shots that round, especially with the long left kicks. I'm not, like I said earlier, you don't want to just judge by damage to the face, but you can see where they landed right here. Look at her eye. Those are from the long left hooks of Silva, and they landed repeatedly, especially in the second round. She landed really good shots there, did more damage. That eye started to swell up, like you saw. Closer round for sure, closer round than the first one. But Silva for sure won that round, got at the better of the striking, did more damage, easy peasy. So I had it even going into the third. So regardless of whether or not you agree with me in the last round, this second round is inarguable. You cannot argue for Leah McCourt in the second round. So the 30-27 judges, both of them, are fucking wrong. Bad. Bad judging, horrible, really bad call. All right, last round here. Leah kept lunging in and, it was preventing her from landing combinations. She kept rushing in when she would throw one shot and wasn't really grappling or going for takedowns or anything like that. Wasn't doing damage on the inside. She wasn't really able to do anything, and Silva was able to land those left hooks and landed a couple jabs, and she just landed more damage. She landed more damaging shots here in the last round. If you want to argue for Leah because of aggression and maybe, let's say, the damage you thought was equal, which I don't think I'll concede. I watched that last round twice just to be sure, especially after I heard the decision. If you want to argue for it, then that's fine. You want to give her the fight 29-28. I disagree, but it's arguable, okay? Like, you can argue that to me. You cannot argue that she won that second round. That is bullshit. It's wrong. 30-27 is not good, and the fact that two judges saw it that way really shows you how bad whatever their decision-making is, whether that be they don't know what they're looking at or they can't see the things or they're seeing them incorrectly. The only way I saw it giving those rounds to Leah is counting things that didn't actually land, like jabs and strikes that didn't land. But maybe from their point of view, because the way Silva reacted, it looked like they landed. It's bullshit. Did not work. That's not how it went. Boy. All right. Pedro Carvalho versus Mads Burnell. Good fight. Relatively active. A lot of grappling in this fight, going both ways. Initially, Burnell did a ton of it, and he was able to control him. But later on, Pedro really just pulled away from it. It was a really good fight for him. Pedro was going really kick-heavy to start the fight, going low into the body. Mads was working for the takedown over and over. He didn't get it with the first exchange, and he took damage for it. And then on the feet, he just, he wasn't able to get his offense going, so he took damage there. He managed to get the back, but Burnell lost position, took more damage, and he did get the takedown and the back again, but all the damage went to Pedro, and there was no time where there was a submission that was close from Burnell. I gave that first round to Pedro. John McCarthy was talking about where the fight took place and why he scored it that way. It's wrong, but I'm going to give you his argument. He said the fight took place more on the ground, and because of that, and Burnell controlled most of that on the ground, that's why he won. That's wrong. It's outright wrong, both from my perspective and from the actual judging criteria. Obviously, damage is number one, and then position and all those things come second. But also from my perspective, which is kind of subjective, That rhymes. Submissions are their own reward. I talked about this last week and a couple weeks ago. This is why submissions are their own reward, because Burnell could have won this fight, especially in the first 2 rounds, because there was a lot of grappling exchanges, in a position that Pedro wasn't really able to, because Burnell had the back. Burnell was going for takedowns. He was in advantageous positions and could have gone for submission finishes, which end the fight immediately, right? Jabs usually don't end the fight immediately. Ground strikes usually don't end the fight immediately, right? A lot of those things are cumulative damage that will add up to being more points for you to end that round. A submission attempt and the grappling exchanges that lead to the submission attempt are mostly control. Control time is graded lower than damage. So if you are going for a submission, that is its own reward, because the setup for the submission counts for nothing but control time. If you get a deep submission and it's close to a finish, now we're talking about possibly, because that does mean you are close to a finish. How close are you to finishing a fight? That's what damage is doing, right? Cumulative damage is worth points, but damaging shots that do more immediately, that have more immediate impact, are worth more than cumulative shots that add up to the same amount of damage. I know that sounds weird, but meaning if you land one giant shot on me that drops me and land nothing else for the round, and I land 20 jabs, like decent jabs on you, who won that round? You did. You knocked me down. You did more damage with one shot. And, well, let's say the damage is equal, right? Let's say the cumulative damage is equal. You did more damage in one shot. That means you get the round. So that being said, if you're going for a submission, all the stuff that leads up to that submission finish only counts for control time. Once you get close to a finish in submission, now it counts more towards finishing the fight, and therefore can outweigh cumulative damage. But until then, and even it has to be really close, because just going for submissions does not count for that. You have to control a majority of the round, or not a majority, like 80+% of the round in grappling, and you can't take a ton of damage coming back at you for that other 20% to win that round. He didn't do that in the first round, so that's why I gave it to him, and that's why I disagree with John McCarthy's assessment. Burnell got the takedown and got the back early again. Pedro defended really well with a takedown and a guillotine attempt and ended up on top, but Burnell scooted out. And Burnell's a really good grappler, and he was able to do a good job on the ground. Mads was losing position, and Pedro was on top, landing a few shots, but then he got swept again. Like, if you like grappling, this was a good fight for you, because Burnell is very good at rolling through, constantly moving, trying to work the scramble, doing an excellent job, reversing position, sweeps. It was fantastic. I love watching the guy fight. And because of all that, and he didn't take damage, he did not take a lot of damage in the second round. I gave him that second round. That's the perfect example of when grappling and he didn't really go for any significant submissions, but grappling exchanges and domination on the ground can count for you, because he didn't take a lot of damage coming back. And then in this last round, Mads just looked really tired. He wasn't able to do much. Actually, he looked tired at the end of the second round, but he didn't take too much damage, so it wasn't a big deal. But in this third round, Mads was not able to get the takedown. Now he was too tired, and then Pedro was unloading on him on the feet and then got his own takedown. I don't know why he kept trying to go grappling exchanges. I feel like on the feet he was dominating. But Pedro stayed on top the whole round, laid out some good damage, and he got the win, in my opinion, 29-28. I think one judge gave all 3 rounds to him. I could see that in the second round as well. I didn't see it that way, but I could see it. I could see why someone else would see that. Kieran Clark defeating Rafael Utsin. Yes, that's how you pronounce it. Rafael Utsin via rear naked choke. Got that in super tight. Look at that, man. Beautiful submission finish. We're going to fly through these ones. So Utsin landed a really big shot early that dropped him. Landed a good hook. Utsin has wings tattooed on him. They're not as cool as the ones that are on Max Holloway, though. Not that means anything. It's just something I noticed. Like, he has wings tattooed on his back. They're pretty cool. the first round, even though it was close, I would see the I'd like to see the actual striking numbers. But in my opinion, Utzin won that second round as well. Like, Utzin stayed on top the whole time in the first round, winning at 10-9. The second round, it could have been close. You could have given it the other way and given it to Clark, but I actually gave that second round to Utzin as well. He actually got the takedown early instead of slipping, which is what happened later in the round, and Clark ended up on top. So I gave him credit for that. I feel like the damage was relatively even, so I gave that to Utzin. So I had him up 20-18, and then in the third round, Clark got a takedown, worked his way to the back, got the rear naked choke, and man, the crowd went crazy. They love Irish people in Ireland. Go figure. No surprise there. Water is wet. Good win for him, though. Good comeback win. Carl Moore beat Carl Albrechtsen. This fight was weird. Real quick, if you made it this far in the video, go ahead and subscribe. This is going to be the last fight we talk about here. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because if you made it this far on a Bellator video, I really appreciate you, and you are a hardcore fan. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you know what's coming out next. And you're going to like pretty much everything I do if you like this. So there were some sloppy exchanges, but let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What do you think about fights when you see fighters wearing shorts or, two pieces for women, or, a shirt or whatever with no sponsors on it? Does that take you a little bit out of the fight? Because it does for me. I don't know why. I think it's just because of prejudice that I have in my head. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Right? I just mean I'm used to seeing it, and I associate that with high-level MMA as people being sponsored. And when I see that it's not sponsored and it's just these blank black and red trunks like this, it signifies to me that, oh, this is a lower level fight. Therefore, I don't care as much. I don't know. Is that wrong? Let me know what you guys think. More. There was some really sloppy exchanges leading to collisions and clinches, and the punches or kicks are really slow, but Albrechtsen got the better of the exchanges, and also, Moore was trying to talk shit after getting hit, and then proceeded to get dropped by an elbow and had some ground and pound that nearly finished the fight. Albrechtsen thought the fight was over because the referee, in this position right here, the referee actually waved his hands at the end of the round. Usually that signifies the fight is called, but he didn't call it. The fight goes to the second round, and then Moore ends up getting a takedown halfway into the second round, working his way to the back, and got the submission finish via rear naked choke, putting the pressure on the jaw and getting the win. Great win for him. Good comeback win for him as well. He took a lot of damage. I think there was probably a huge adrenaline dump from Albrechtsen, and he thought that because he thought he won, and now he had to come back out, and he felt like he dumped everything into it. So that can be a kind of a mind fuck. Also, being complimented. So Albrechtsen was being complimented by John McCarthy. He says, some people like to be the hammer, some people like to be the nail, and some people aren't good. They're good hammers, but they're not good nails. They don't like to get hit. The compliment was Albrechtsen is a really good nail, meaning he gets hit a lot and he can take a lot of hits. Okay, that's not really a compliment. Saying you have a good chin is kind of, it's kind of a compliment. Having a good chin means you've been hit really hard and you don't go down and you don't get knocked out. It's not necessarily a compliment because, someone had to hit you hard to do it. So your head movement is there's a lot of things that go into it, but usually it's not, it doesn't have a negative connotation. Saying you're a really good nail means you kind of get beat down. It's like being Darren Elkins. Your nickname's the Damage because you get damaged a lot. Not exactly a compliment in my opinion. All right, let me know. Thanks guys for watching. If this is the only video you guys watched this week, I really appreciate it. Thank you for spending your time here. It means a lot to me. Let me know what you guys think about the new name, the new logo, all that stuff. Comment down below. Let me know what else you guys want to see. I'm thinking about doing some more edited, some more videos. Let me know if you got video ideas, send them over. I'll definitely consider them and start putting out more stuff. So have a great week. If you're looking for the prelims, they're in the next video. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Have a great week.